Hey, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's Michael Daly, your host of the Real 1% podcast. Back at you guys and girls with another episode. But tonight, the switch is going to be flipped, and I'm going to be the one getting sitting on the hot seat. Usually I'm the one asking the questions and digging into other people's stories and, letting them paint the picture. But tonight, my fellow friend, Brage, is so kind to get on here, and she's going to put me in the hot seat. So, hope you guys are into, for another good episode. I always say that the guests are special, so I'm special too. And without further ado, Brage, how you doing this afternoon or this evening? My bad.
Hi, thank you for having me back and for letting me turn the tables a little bit. I'm really looking forward to this. I think we're going to have fun. And I think that it's important that you get to interview and learn so much about everybody else. And I think that it's important that everybody else get to learn and get to know you, get to learn about you and get to know you. Because I think that you're really special. So I'm excited.
All right, let's go. I'm ready for you.
Excited to hear you tell your story tonight.
Okay, me too.
So why don't we go ahead and get started? So I first want to talk a little bit about your background and your family life. So if you could kind of start with where did you grow up? Do you have any brothers and sisters? And tell me a little bit about those relationships.
Yeah, no problem. So, I was born in Boston, Massachusetts, and I lived there until about third grade. I finished third grade up there, and I got a younger brother. His name's Brandon. He's born in 1992, so he's just a couple years younger than me. And I also have a half brother and 3 half sisters from my dad's previous marriage that they're older now. Almost all of them are in their 50s. So, we left Massachusetts. My dad got hurt on the job. He used to work in the police system up there in Massachusetts. And long story short, guy tried to come through in the court, back before they had metal detectors. A guy tried to go after the judge with a butcher's knife, and my dad and some other people grabbed the guy, but he ended up hurting his back in the meanwhile. So after he went through that injury and dealing with the pain and arthritis, and they wanted to open his back up and do all the surgery and put like metal rods in his back, him and my mom and maybe me and my brother, we came down to Florida, and they said they saw Siesta Key, which is in Sarasota, and they knew that's where they needed to be. So pretty much I started from 4th grade on in Florida, and I graduated high school at Sarasota High down here. And then I went to the Army. So childhood was good. I feel I love playing sports. I tried all of them mostly. And I just love having fun, be outside, the good old days of not sitting inside, sitting on the iPhone all day like we are at now. But childhood was great, for the most part.
Tell me a little bit about your relationship with your siblings and with your parents. Were you close? And then when you moved down to Florida after your father was injured, did the relationship change?
Okay, yeah. I mean, my brother and I, we grew up, we always did stuff together, played, inside the house, outside the house, we did our thing. A little bit of separation in age, and I sort of fell into the sports category, and my brother, he didn't really like the authority, so he did other stuff, and which was fine. But as far as my other siblings, like they were around and stuff like that, but there was such an age gap. And then once we really left Massachusetts and moved to Florida, our family was up there, but sad to say it. I mean, I'm not going to just sugarcoat anything. I'm just going to be honest. I got a big family, but I don't have a lot of good relationships with them. They're very distant, and me and my brother are some of the youngest people in our family. That doesn't mean we can't have the relationships, but it just we went to Florida. Everyone else was in Massachusetts, and I did get along pretty good with some of my aunts and uncles, and most of them have passed away. And I still got my Uncle Gary. That's my mom's one of her older brothers. So, relationships were there, but it wasn't like some tight-knit family that, everyone probably hopes they have. So obviously it kind of sucks to, getting older and having a kid of my own to look back and see that is how it was. But, everyone has their differences, and I don't hold nothing against anybody, but yeah, we moved to Florida, and some people would come down and visit, and that's how it went, and that's fine. But as me and my brother got older, siblings rivalry fights or whatever, you know how it goes. He actually, me and my friend Carlos, we took one of his wrestling dolls out of his room one time, and we were like in middle school. I ran back to my room. My dad was at home. My brother comes storming in, jumped on my bed. His head hit my chin, knocked my tooth straight out of my mouth. I went in the bathroom, spit out blood, spit out my whole tooth and the root, and I got in trouble for that because I took the doll in. I lost my tooth looking like a clown with my bottom tooth out. So that was a pretty funny story. But yeah, I mean, I had to get a retainer and braces, so you can't tell. But when you go to a new dentist, or I go to a new dentist, they'll be like, "You're missing a tooth at the bottom." Like, yeah, I got it knocked out from Brandon, but he got a hard head, so it's funny looking back at it now. But yeah, everything was good. We played video games, we hung out, and did the best we can, as anyone else would try to do, I suppose, and try not to make a living hell for our parents, because that's not really what we wanted to do. So it wasn't bad.
Tell me about some of the sports that you played.
Oh man, I played everything: baseball, basketball, roller hockey, tennis, golf, everything, ping pong.
Were you on teams or just informal?
Oh no, teams, mostly teams. I mean, I played little league. I played basketball in high school. I played baseball all the way through high school. But realistically, I mean, to touch on that, it's funny. I asked my mom not that long ago. I said, "What do you think I was gonna be? What do you think I was gonna be when I grew up?" And she told me a baseball player. And looking back on it, I know I sold myself short. And hopefully, anyone that's listening to this podcast, doesn't matter how old you are, or whatever, you just don't sell yourself short anymore, because I feel like I've done that for 35. I'm 35 years old, and I feel like I've done that most of my life, and I don't want to do that for the next 35. I got scared, I guess, or I didn't. I wanted to play basketball in high school, but I should have tried to play baseball. I think that was my strongest sport, and I sort of detered away from that on the high school level and just kind of played in the recreational leagues and stuff like that. So, I mean, I was a left-handed pitcher. I feel like that's like a meal ticket. I'm pretty tall. I could throw the ball pretty hard, but I don't know. I just didn't believe in myself. I guess that's really the fact of the matter. And looking back on it, I wish I had another chance to do it. I don't regret not, doing it, but if I could go back and do it again, I feel like I would focus in on one sport. And I don't think I'm the next Bo Jackson or Deion Sanders. So I mean, you got to stick to what you're good at and just become a master at that. But I was sort of bouncing all over the place, and it was all fun though. Played high school basketball for a couple of years, and then the coach left, and just didn't have a desire to play anymore. So everything kind of fell apart a little bit halfway through high school. So that's not the end of the world.
So I'm going to skip ahead a little bit because you're talking about sports. I know that in participating in team sports, you learn a lot of really valuable lessons in terms of collaboration and being gracious and support and having a certain mindset. And I know that this is something that you not only learned, through all the sports that you participated in, but then it was further, you further built on that philosophy when you joined the Army. So tell me a little bit about the timing of when you joined the Army, what made you decide to go that route? And then we can talk a little bit more about your roles and your experiences.
No problem. So,
let's start first with, when did you join the Army and why?
Okay. I joined the Army in 2007. Actually, I joined in 2006, October. I joined the delayed entry program. I graduated 2006 from high school, and I was ready to ship off to basic training in January of 2007. So after graduating high school, I worked 2 jobs. I was trying to figure out how to make it on my own. We all turn 18 and you want to move out of your house, and you think it's going to be so easy. And the reality of it, even back in 2006, it wasn't even possible. For working at Pizza Hut and a retirement home, working 2 jobs as an 18-year-old and trying to figure out if I could make ends meet and get out on my own. And the fact of the matter was, I just didn't see that was going to be a good possibility or a smart move. So, the Army recruiters around, and a guy I know, Justin, one of my buddies from high school, he ended up joining as 11 Bravo into the Army. Saw his graduation and stuff like that, and I was kind of talked to the same recruiter and had it in the back of my mind. but I just wasn't ready to pull the trigger when I graduated high school that summer. So, I tried to do those 2 jobs, and I was like, yeah, this isn't really going to cut it. So let me go ahead and sign up for the Army for 4 years. Maybe I get some schooling when I get out, not get student loans. And, I just thought I'd do 4 years and maybe get out. I had my mindset on being in the culinary field, which is kind of crazy to say. Some people say being a cook in the military is the worst job. I would beg to differ. If you have a passion for food and, you like serving people, at the end of the day, whenever you join the military, you're going to become a soldier first. So it doesn't matter what your MOS is. You still got to learn how to shoot, move, communicate, and you're a soldier first. So I knew I wanted to be a cook. I wanted to get on the culinary arts team and just try to win gold medals or whatever the case was in the military. But when I joined the Army and after I got done with my basic training in AIT, I got to Fort Campbell, was my first duty station, and as soon as I got there, they're like, "You ready to go to Iraq?" I'm like, "I guess. I mean, I don't know. I'm just getting here." But they're like, "Yeah, we're leaving in 60 or 90 days." So no culinary arts team, no cooking. It was just pretty much train up, go on leave that we barely even had because I wasn't in the Army for a long time, and I got ready to go to Iraq. So that's sort of how the first couple months of my Army career went.
So how long were you in the Army before you went on your first deployment? Because it sounds like it was with just a couple months. I mean, how do they prepare you for combat when you haven't been there for very long?
Well, I had,
what am I missing here?
No, you're good. Basic training is like 9 weeks, so that's like 2 months, 1 week, and then I think the AIT, which is advanced individual training for food service, was only 8 weeks basic. And I can only speak for mine, but I know that it was a joke. The schooling was like a joke. Here's how you cook fried chicken. You cook like 1 piece of chicken, or here's how you set this table up, or here's how you do sanitation. But then you go to like a big unit like Fort Campbell, they have thousands of soldiers. And granted, I didn't get to cook at first, but as soon as I got to my unit, they just said, we're leaving in 90 days. I got there I probably got there in like July or August or something. No, June or July, and then we end up leaving in October. So whatever that time period is, a couple months, and a few weeks of that was leave. But I was in the headquarters company, so they didn't go to the field like NTC, which is a National Training Center, or JRTC, that's like Fort Polk, that some units go to and do a whole 45-day operation. No, like they were just ready to go, and it was pretty much learn on the fly. Hey, this is what you need to bring. This is the packing list. Okay, pack all that stuff. All right. Put all that stuff in the shipping containers, and then it was pretty much off to the races, and you just learn as you get down there. That's how it went for me.
So while you were in Iraq, were you just cooking and on base, or did you go out on any missions outside the wire?
Well, my first deployment to Iraq, I did absolutely no cooking at all. I had nothing to do with food service. I worked on a detail for a couple months or a little while, doing all types of odd jobs, knocking down SWAT huts that people lived in that were going to get eradicated, and bring stuff to the burn pits, or drive here and go do this. Also, after that, I worked with Staff Sergeant Ulmer, Donnie D. Ulmer. And he was the camp commandant. So we were at a Marine fob that was called Al-Taqaddum. It was short for TQ, and it was this huge fob over in Iraq. And he was the camp commandant, so everyone put work orders in through him, and we had to make sure all that stuff got done. Whether it's the air conditioning went out, or they need this, or they need that. I mean, we were doing all types of odd jobs. We had fun. I mean, he taught me how to, drive stick shift in a pickup truck, and we were doing all type of stuff. But after I worked with him, I started working with Staff Sergeant Twitty at the time, and he was a battalion maintenance officer, and he was in charge of doing all the reports for the vehicles, making sure all the fleets were up, and so essentially, that was the first probably 11 months of the deployment, and then for like the last month and a half or so, we got remission to go to Kuwait, and I was chosen with Sergeant Twitty and a couple other soldiers to go to Kuwait and teach all the new incoming soldiers that were coming into country to Camp Buehring, Kuwait, to drive all the trucks. So like MRAPs ASV, Cayman, Max Pro. We were teaching all the soldiers. Didn't matter what your MOS was. We got tasked with the detail. We were teaching them how to drive and doing driver's training in Kuwait for the last month and a half or so. So I did nothing to do with cooking at all the whole time.
And how was that? So well, let me take a step back. So how many other deployments did you have after that?
2 more.
So how did your subsequent deployments compare to your first in terms of expectations and what your experiences were?
Well, I mean, the first deployment, you don't really know what to expect. You go to, for the Army back in the day, you'd go to Camp Buring, and it's a huge base in Kuwait. They got huge dining facilities. They got all types of food, and you're like, oh, this isn't so bad. It's hot as anything. Like, I just remember the first thing. It was October. We landed in the plane. We got off the plane, and it just felt like we were standing in the oven. It was so hot. I mean, you got all your gear on. You got your bags. You got your weapon, your helmet, all your stuff, and you're like, damn, it's kind of hot over here. And, you stay over there for a couple weeks and you do some train up exercises. But the fun really started, I guess, was when we took the C-130 ride to Iraq from Kuwait. We got shot at on the plane. And I just remember holding on to the red cargo net behind me. And I hate roller coasters. I hate rides, motion sickness to the core. Can't help it. And I just remember praying, and I was like, damn, I don't know what's going on, but I feel like my throat or my stomach is in my throat. I was like, what's going on? Like, yeah, they're getting shot at. And I just told this story earlier today on another episode because I interviewed my buddy and he had the same exact experience 3 years earlier than me at the same unit at Fort Campbell in the same company. So, it was like a little welcome to my world, I guess, when we were going to Iraq. And that was really a wake-up call because being 19 at the time, 18, 19 years old at the time, you don't really know what you're getting into. I mean, if you haven't been there, and that's how it all started off. So that was my first day into Iraq, getting shot at on a C-130, doing a combat landing, getting all our stuff, exiting the plane. The plane got us off. It was a hot landing, so they got us off, and they went right back up, and they were off. So that was the welcome kit.
And how long did you spend in the Army?
I was in for 8 years.
So of the 8 years, tell me a little bit about what your roles and responsibilities were over the course of time.
Okay. Well, after I got back from Iraq, I re-enlisted After I got back from Iraq, we pretty much were already getting ready to go to Afghanistan 1 year to the date almost. So like we got back, we got R&R. Then they tried to put us in a dining facility for a couple months after we did a little bit of leave, and that was fine. Cooked a little bit, actually did my job, which was fine. And then after a couple months, we got pulled out, so we had to get ready to go again to Afghanistan. So started training up for that, and went on leave again, and then got on the plane, went to Mandis, which is in Kyrgyzstan. Went there for a little while, and then went to Afghanistan. And when we got to Afghanistan, I worked in the support operations cell of the unit and did SPO plans. So we did all different command and staff slideshows and briefings to the colonel and the commander, all that stuff. And then I got moved to go run the Class 1 yard, which is like all the food and all the water for the whole RC South. So we were in Helmand Province, and we were at FOB Leatherneck, was another Marine FOB. So I was one of the NCOs in charge up there running the show and, making sure the convoys and all these other units got the food that they ordered, and would order the food, would issue the food. And, it was actually a pretty good job because you had a lot of responsibility. You're ordering hundreds of thousands of dollars of food every order, and you'd order in 2 to 3 times a week, not to mention drinks, water, ice. So I really liked the job. It was satisfying. I made good relationships with people being in charge of the food. Everyone wants to be your friend. And it felt good to be in charge of something like that. So I did that for a year in Afghanistan. And when I was in Afghanistan, I re-enlisted to go to Germany. And when I got back from Afghanistan, I got a 6-month school out. So after we got back from the deployment, I went to the education center for 6 months and only had to go to PT pretty much, and went to school at Ossipee State University on Fort Campbell. And that was a good incentive the Army had. So it was pretty much 6 months of pay. And I went to school, and then I ended up leaving and going to Germany. And shortly after I got to Germany, we pretty much deployed again to Afghanistan. This time, though, I was attached to an infantry unit, and I cooked in the middle of nowhere. We were outside of Kandahar to Shawali Kop district, and we were at this place called Kop Janat. So it's combat outpost Janat, and I cooked out of a trailer. I got there. The dude that was there before me, they had rotten food. They treated the place like shit, to be honest, and it was a disgrace to see that. And I just started cleaning that up with my soldiers. I had one soldier, then I got another soldier, PFC Hogan. He was in commo, but the first sergeant merit, gave us him because I only had one soldier, and I was in charge of cooking 2 meals at least a day for over 100 people, for the next 7 or 8 months. So it was me, Ayala, and Hogan, and we cleaned the place up and we made it happen. We did 3 meals a day instead of 2. We only were supposed to do 2, so try to go above and beyond and give these soldiers, something to look forward to, which was hot chow. We didn't have running water toilets, barely. We had porta potties, barely had any good internet. Sleeping in tents with like 6 to 8 other people. So having internet, having a hot shower or a cold shower, and good food, that really made a difference in mail. So that was a good experience. Hard work. We turned that outpost over to the ANA, which is the Afghan National Army, and we convoyed to FOB Frontneck. Once I got there, Sergeant Major Spivey was like, "Hey, Sergeant Daly, I need you to go up here to Pacemaker and go take over up there because the other dude got in trouble for whatever the reason was." So I got sent on a convoy to go in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of mountains in Afghanistan, and went to another combat outpost and pretty much took over that food service operation. And it was kind of a shame too, because those were the people I was supposed to be with when I originally went on deployment. But I got tasked out to the other unit, but we were all still in the same squadron, which is like a battalion. But I was in a cavalry unit, so that's just the terminology they used. And when I got up there, this guy was, he wasn't the best soldier. He probably wasn't the worst either, but they were up there like starving people. They called them the people that were up there living. The infantry guys were like, "Yeah, these guys are food Nazis. They're not feeding us nothing. People are getting sick," and like it just made me hurt because that's why a lot of people in food service have a bad perception on them because they think everyone doesn't care, and that's not the case. Some people do care. Some people cook at the Pentagon. Some people cook for generals, and some people just cook in Afghanistan. I cared fully because it was my job to take care of the soldiers. So long story short, we got that place straight and shut that down. All the cooks left except me, and I stayed to the end and went back to the FOB Frontneck and actually broke my foot playing basketball on a Sunday morning. I thought I broke my ankle. Never broke a bone in my life. Went up for a layup, came down, thought I broke my ankle. I couldn't get up, and I got a medevac to Kandahar. It's the Roll 3 hospital in a Black Hawk, which was a cool ride, but not for a broken foot. What I mean? Like, at least I went. It's cool though. You went on a Black Hawk and then got an X-ray. They said, you don't need surgery. They put like one of those crazy moon boots on, and I went back the same night on to FOB Frontneck on a Chinook, the brand new Chinook. So I was riding in style both ways. Just break your foot, you might ride in style. So so I went back and finished my deployment with a broken foot and a moon boot on my foot. And after I got back to Germany, I had like maybe a little bit over a year left in the Army, and I came down on orders to go to Fort Carson, and that's pretty much where I ended up doing my last 11 months in the military.
So I want to go back to your desire to go above and beyond, because since I have known you, and even through all of our text exchanges and when we chitty chat on the phone, everything that you do is above and beyond. And so I'm kind of thinking, like, did this start when you were a kid and going through all of the different sports programs and being on all the different teams? Because if you want to win, you have to work hard and you have to work as a team, and you always have, like, the bar is up here.
Yeah.
And since I have met you and the longer that I know you, like, your bar is up here. Like, you're always looking for, how do I get better? How do I be a better version of me? How do I make a bigger impact in the lives of others. And so I'm wondering, like, where do you think this desire to continually and consistently go above and beyond come from?
It'd probably be a combination of things, like you touched on it first, just growing up and, you know, playing sports and, not everyone can win. And a lot of people think that everyone can be a winner, and you can if you work hard, but not everyone in sports, either you win or you lose, or, I mean, sometimes you tie, but I mean, I'd always want to win. I'm not a sore loser, but I don't like to lose in anything. And I think that's one of my strong points in life. And I think other people sadly think that's a weak point, but I just don't think they have the same mindset as me. A lot of people are okay with being mediocre. And like I said earlier, I know I sold myself short I know I could have had a chance to play sports if I really tried and went after it, but I gave up on myself. So even when I joined the Army, I know I excelled and I made rank fast, and I went over and above my peers. And that's just the type of person I think I am, and I'm not like that every day, and I wasn't obviously like that when I first got out the Army, and I was struggling. I went through the mud essentially, and I've struggled and was in quicksand and felt like I was drowning. But I'm not. I'll never be okay with mediocre. And just throughout the years, I think programming myself with people like Brian Tracy, Zig Ziglar, Les Brown, Tony Robbins, all these people that are they might be motivational speakers, but they're also maximum achievers. And just being around sports players that strive for greatness and want to be a master of something is something that I feel like it's always been in my mind. So say a little bit of all that.
Tell me a little bit about the timing for when you got out. So why did you decide to finally leave the Army? And then
Okay.
I want to kind of unpack your transition experience next.
Okay. So I would say the time I knew I was going to get ready to get out of the Army was when I got to Vilseck, Germany, and I got there on I think it was Memorial Day weekend, or I don't know. We had a 4-day holiday. Let's just put it like that. I don't know exactly which one it was, but it was in May, I think. So whatever's in May, I don't draw a blank, but I went to go try out for the post softball team. It was a traveling softball team. And like I said, I was a cook, and they told me to come on out and I could play. And I told my E6 at the time I was a sergeant promotable, and it was hard to make rank while I was in the Army because it was right. A lot of people were shitbags that were cooks, and they would never make rank. And what that did is clog the lineup for the young people to make rank. So the Army had the point system. So it was always 798 points. That's like, you have to max out literally everything. And I was like 20 something years old. I didn't have everything maxed out at the time. So, I mean, you need college hours. You just needed everything. So anyways, they're like, nah, I'm sorry, you can't go. And I'm like, dude, okay, that's kind of sad because they're not really giving everyone the opportunity to go. You have to go out there and try out for this team. And then, you're afforded the opportunity to do it. Any other MOS besides a cook, maybe even a cook with a different leadership, they would have had that chance to go out there and do that. So after I got stuck with that and just saw how the leadership was in Germany, and there's good and bad everywhere. So I'm not saying the Army was great for me. It was a great stepping stone. I'm not here to bash the Army or even name call anyone, to be honest with you. But yeah, I just got under horrible leadership. They didn't give a damn about me, and I gave a damn about all my soldiers. But when you were a staff sergeant, like these guys and girls, they weren't even in the dining facility. It was all run by me, a couple other NCOs, and all the soldiers. That's who made the mission happen. And these people just thought they walked on water and they didn't have to do anything. And I just had a bad taste in my mouth at first in Germany. But when I deployed with the infantry unit, everything was fine. They knew I did my job. They took care of me. I made E6. They looked out for me. They knew I knew my stuff, and that was fine. But then once I got back from my deployment, they screwed me over again, and they told me, "Oh, you got to come back in the dining facility, Sergeant Daly." I said, "No, I don't. I've been back for 2 weeks. We're supposed to get 45 days of reintegration. You guys have all been back since January. It's May. I'm not coming back to the dining facility until my 45 days are up." And that pretty much had no one go to bat for me when that happened. And one thing led to another. And, they tried to get me back in the dining facility and hang me up on some nonsense. And I was for sure done at that time. I was like, dude, I got to get out of this unit, and I got to get out of Germany, and I got to get out of the Army, because I know this is just not for me anymore. I got under bad leadership. And even when I got to Fort Carson, I had 11 months left. I had my foot was still healing, you know. I had a bone spur, so I got a cortisone shot. That didn't work. Then I opted to take bone spur surgery. So I was out for a little while. But as soon as I had my 21 days of permissive TDY to be on bed rest, all they wanted to do is go to the field, go to the field, go to the field. I said, dude, I got like 6 months left in the Army. You know, I don't really care about going to the field. You just want bodies and manpower and all this nonsense. And I got under bad leadership again, and one thing led to another, and it was just time to go. So yeah, I got out. That's how I kind of got out the Army. The time went by fast. I did have a plan. I wasn't stupid. At least I didn't think I was at the time. I started applying for contracting jobs, and I got hit up to go work in Antarctica, but it was for like $13 an hour. But I was like, that's a cool experience. Let me see what else I can find. So I found a job in Alaska. It was a head chef on an oil rig. So I got that lined up and had like about 68 days of terminal leave. But these people had me go into the field to like the last minute. And the sad part is about the Army is what people don't realize is there's always going to be life after the Army. It doesn't matter if you're a commander, a general. We had a striker roll over on Pinyon Canyon, and they had a soldier die. Some other soldiers get seriously hurt, and they wanted to stay out there and train. That just showed the character of the leadership we had. Like, they didn't give a damn. No one wasn't. We're not in Afghanistan. We're not in Iraq. We're not in Somalia. Wherever else you want to go, that's a combat zone. Like, people aren't going to be in the right headspace when something like that happens. Now, I know you're supposed to train as you fight, but that was just another thing to put me over the edge. And yeah, the icing on the cake really was when it was time for me to get out the Army. They tasked me, because I was an NCO, to chaperone and escort these 2 other soldiers that they were kicking out of the Army for being overweight. So not only did they not help me and ever ask me, hey, what are you going to do when you get out? You know, you got a plan. They didn't give a damn. So just know that, everybody, no one cares. There might be some people that care, but it's going to be the 1%. Nobody cares what you're going to do when you get out, okay? Because they don't even know what they're going to do when they get out. And if they're a good leader, maybe they're going to ask you, what are you going to do? You got a plan? You got money? Where are you going to go? All these are, you going to go to school first? You got a job lined up? I had nobody. And that's fine. I don't want you to feel sorry for me. I'm just telling you how it is. And it was okay. But I had to ask you, so I didn't even know what I was going to do. I'm going to Alaska. I'm like, what are you guys going to do? They're like, I don't know, just going to go home. And they didn't really have a plan, and I can't make a plan for them. They have to do it themselves. So yeah, and that was pretty much how I got out the Army right there, working to the last day.
When you were in, did you have the opportunity to maybe change your MOS and go someplace else, or were you required to stay where you were?
No, I mean, I did the ASVAB again, like improve my GT. Even that was my first deployment, because you get 110 GTs in the Army. That pretty much opens up anything that you want. You could do pretty much any MOS. But honestly, at the time, I didn't want to keep living my life overseas like that. I mean, I had 3 deployments. I had a 13 and a half month and a year. So that's what, 20 something. I had over 30 months of deployment, and in less than 8 years, or about 8 years. So I just didn't want to keep doing that, I was ready to go and get on to the next thing. But yeah, I did have the option to do that. So.
And then when you transitioned out, so now there's many different transition organizations and transition services that are available to service members. There's Honor Foundation, there's Commit Foundation, there's American Corporate Partners for Mentoring, there's Veterati for Mentoring. At the time that you transitioned out, what was available to you, if anything, and then how did you approach your transition? What did they tell you to expect once you walked out the door?
Well, I did the ACAP, so it's like, you go around with your paperwork, and being an NCO, they don't really give you any. They just tell you to go do it. You go around to all these different sections. You get your paperwork signed off. You sit in a couple of briefs. You might sit in a brief to talk about a resume, but it was really cut and dry, to be honest with you. with my experience. Also, like a lot of people say, it was like a fire hose of information just going down your throat sometimes. But I feel like the only guy that was pretty valuable was like a veteran himself that came in there and talked about, don't miss these appointments, go there, use the VA. He was kind of trying to put it in context for us all. But I really did myself a disservice because I was so ready to go. And like I said, I had those deployments, I had broken my foot, I had other injuries. And when it came time for me to go to the VA appointment in Colorado Springs, I said, I'm not going. I don't even know what that is. And I don't blame anyone but myself. I screwed myself big time because I mean, not saying I could have been 100% the day I left the Army, but I could have had at least 30%, 40, 50%, if I would have done it the right way. I didn't know what a sleep study was. I didn't know any of that stuff. And it's really up to us to know that. They did have like training with industry, but I didn't have enough time. I left Germany with only 11 months on my contract, and I didn't know what the requirements left on your service contract are for that, but I know that was an option. But as far as like American corporate partners or like the IBMF, EBV, Boots to Business, I mean, that stuff I just didn't know even existed or was never told to me. And it's really all my fault. I'm not like our boy Jocko, the Navy SEAL. I read his book, Extreme Ownership, right? And you gotta take extreme ownership over your own life. You can't blame anyone else for your shortcomings. It's all our fault. At the end of the day, like, yes, sure, someone should have told us about it, but all those people that were still in the military, they're going to work tomorrow. Well, Sergeant Daly is going to be a civilian, or whoever, Joe Schmo, whatever your name is. They're not charged with looking at life after the military. So, it's definitely a learning curve.
How do you know to even look for them?
I mean, you got to be smart. You got to think about a plan. You got to say, oh, what am I going to do after the military? You can even just go on Google. It's simple fact. I found so much stuff just Googling stuff. Hey, veteran benefits, veteran programs. So if you're in the military, you do the same thing. Military to civilian programs. You can get on Deloitte. You can get on with all these great. If you want to be in corporate America, they got all these programs that you can get into, and it's like an internship or something like that, right? Boeing, all this stuff that I've heard all these old soldiers tell me about. So get into an internship. That's something that you want to do, because if you do a good job, you don't think they're going to offer you a job when you're done? Of course they are. They're going to get a tax break for you. They want you because you're a good employee. You're a good worker. You're coming from the military. But for me, I was short-minded, and I was dealing with an injury, not to use that as an excuse. And when I wasn't dealing with that, all we did was go to the field. But I should have made more time for myself. I thought having that job in Alaska was going to be a good start. And then I thought I'd go to culinary school in Miami or something like that. But that's definitely not what happened.
So when you transition, so a big part of the transition is learning how to shift your identity, going from, an active duty service member, whatever your role is, and that's being in the Army is definitely your identity. So on the other side, did you have any trouble trying to shift your identity to going back into the civilian world?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at first everything was cool because I was getting my 68. I was getting paid for being in the Army on leave still, and I was working up in Alaska on an oil rig and making good money. So I was double dipping for a little bit, but life happens, and I ended up getting my girlfriend pregnant at the time, and she was in Florida. I was working in Alaska. I'm like, dude, I've already had 3 deployments. Let me get out of here and like be by with my pregnant girlfriend. But like, we didn't even have a place to live. She had a place with her sister, but I was like, you know what? Why don't you just try to come move in with my mom, my dad? They were, bless them for letting us come in there. Obviously, they'd always open their home up for me or my brother. That's just how they are. But I mean, I went from being an E6 in the Army, living by myself for the last 8 years, climbing through the ranks and having all my own stuff. And it was a culture shock, even though it was still my own family. I mean, I had a pregnant girlfriend. I left a good paying job in Alaska. Now I'm working all these dead end jobs and retirement homes. I mean, Brage, I tell you, I had like at least 12 jobs in food service, and I just low paying. And you just start asking. I start asking myself, damn, is this all I'm worth? Is this all I'm really worth? $12, $13, $14. That's it. That's all I'm really worth. That's they're willing to pay. And the food service industry, for anyone that's out there that thinks it's nice on the other side, I mean, it's not a high paying industry unless you get into some fine dining, Michelin star, head chef. And I mean, I didn't have culinary school. I'm self-taught or learned on the job or learned throughout training or whatever. So when I went to apply to those big jobs like executive chef or sous chef, yeah, maybe I couldn't even have done them at the time, but I wasn't even getting calls. So I was like, damn, it was really a reality check because, you know, in one room, my dad's dying of cancer. The other room, I got a pregnant girlfriend. And the other time, I'm going to work for $10 an hour at a fine dining spot where the dude's an asshole and wants to pay you $100 a day when you're 28 years old and you're trying to make it in Sarasota, Florida, which is it's not a cheap place to live. So, I mean, identity struggle definitely was real. And then you know, I caught a break. My dad, not really a break. I did like entrepreneurship boot camp for veterans is through the IVMF. So it's the Institute of Veterans and Military Families through Syracuse University. And that kind of gave me like some breathing room. I'm like, all right, there's like stuff out here for veterans that like they want to see you succeed. They want to, you know, instill stuff into you. And I got to go to Cornell. I got to get into alumni. I got to meet great people. And after that, my dad died after that, shortly after that. And, you know, my son's not even 1 year old. Oh, no, he's not, you know, not even 2. Sorry. And I was like, damn, I got to get a financial break. And unfortunately, I started applying for contracting jobs and I got a call to go to Dubai. And so I started doing the contracting route for a little bit when my son was little. And, you know, that was the only monetary gain I had. You know, I had nothing going for me in Florida around these area. And with that job and another job in Africa and working in Pakistan, I was able to build a nest egg and build you know, buy a house, build a house. And, you know, I know what I was worth and I know what type of person I am. And that showed me that I knew I was capable of earning that money and being in that top tier of earners. But it sucked because I had to go away for it. You know, it's a civilian deployment. This time with a little kid. Are you going to remember it that I was gone? No. Do I remember? Sure. Does his mom? Sure. You know, it was respect to her for, you know, holding it down and making it happen and letting me pursue what I was trying to go after. I didn't want to do it, but I knew that was the only way to somewhat of a freedom. And, you know, that's how it went.
Tell me a little bit more about how you moved your way through food service, and then after your contract job to Dubai. So then you've made enough money to build a home, and then what? So like, what are you doing now?
Okay.
And is it meaningful?
Yeah, let's say, well, I left first real quick. I left the job in Dubai because it was great to be over there. The money was great, but I worked with some people that thought I was a threat. I was young. I was a supervisor. I wasn't there to take anyone's job. I was there to make money and provide. Meanwhile, you know, you just had people overcooking food. They had warmers full of food, and every day they'd throw it away. I try to bring it up. It just wasn't a good fit. Let's just put it like that. So I went to Africa. That's where I bought my house. It was during like right before COVID, I guess, kicked off, and we were stuck over there for like, oh, it's right when COVID was actually going on, what, 2020. So we were stuck over there like 7-8 months, and they weren't letting us know when we were going to go on R&R. And I'm like, I'm about to quit this job because this is BS, you know? And I was like, nah, I came over here to, you know, reach my goals. And I bought a house in, you know, Florida, sight unseen. It was a new build, and I got in at the right time, and that was fine. And then I worked in Pakistan a little bit, but after that, it was during COVID, and yeah, I'm just gonna put it out there and be honest. Like they were trying to get everyone to the COVID shot, and everyone that was in Pakistan, we had like a couple of us, and a couple of them were like, I'm not getting that. I was like, I'm not getting it either, because me personally, the last time I got shots, I got 4 vaccines and 1 flu shot, and I took my family to Las Vegas the next day, and I was on my deathbed pretty much for like 3-4 days, and I just told myself, I'm not doing that to my body no more. When we're in the military, we just line up like cattle, and if that's cool with you, that's cool. But you just line up and you just sit there, and they just start going to town on both of your arms. No one even questioned it back then. But you know, the COVID vaccine, it seemed like people woke up a little bit and started questioning what's going on in their body. And thank God, I got 100% disability. You know, I got to really rewind a little bit real quick and just say, I got out the military with zero disability. I had all that stuff in my medical records. I didn't go to the appointment. I would not advise anyone to do that. I would advise everyone, if you have a problem in the military, to get seen. Swallow your pride. Who cares what someone else thinks of you? If you have something wrong with you, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, get it documented, because if you don't, you're never going to get service connected and you're just going to do yourself a disservice. So I went through the time I got out the military. I went from 0 to 100%, and I got $11,000 back pay on the day before my birthday, June 7th, 2021. I was in Pakistan, and that was a telltale sign it was time for me to go home. And it was bittersweet. It was the easiest contracting job I had. It was a good group of people. It was easy workload, good money. But I had my son at home, and I had to get home. And I pivoted from contracting, and I had my disability. I was going to school still, so I was using my voc rehab benefits. It's called VRE. It's called Veterans Readiness and Employment Program now. So I was doing that and making good money, and I just came home to be a present dad. And once I got home, I called one of my buddies, my buddy David from Germany, and he lives in Texas. And he was telling me he was reselling clothes. I was like, okay, all right. Him and his wife were doing this, going to buy clothing and selling it on Poshmark. And I kind of dove into that. I used to always want to do a food truck and do a business venture, but I just knew the food truck was going to draw me away from my son too much, and I wanted to be there. I've already missed so much, a couple of years on and off being contracted. I didn't want to be in food anymore. I was kind of burnt out, and living in the HOA is a double-edged sword. You can't park a food truck. It was just. I just thought it was too many barriers or entry, and I just didn't want to dive in that. So I turned my garage into like a warehouse, and it's way smaller than a Class 1 yard, way less stuff. And I've already ran a warehouse in the Army and done all these things. And ever since I left Pakistan, I've been selling clothes on eBay, and it can be a profitable venture if you do the right things and you study the analytics and sell the stuff that's in demand in the market, whether it's clothes or whatever you pick. And also, I rented out my first house, and I was able to buy another house with my VA loan with my disability and my income. And so right now, I'm diving in the real estate game. I guess I got my rental house, and I'm the landlord, and I got great tenants, and doing eBay. And I also started doing this podcast called The Real 1%. And I always loved helping veterans, and I've always wanted to get a job doing it, and I was afforded the opportunity. So I said, you know what, screw it. I'm just going to take off and do it myself. And the last couple of months I've been doing it. At first I started doing some videos about, the VA. This is how I got back pay. This is how I got this. It kind of cut and dry. I didn't really know what I was doing, but I turned the camera on and did it. And again, cooking is like a sport to me. You can always get better. There's always cuisines, and so is podcasts. So is eBay. So is everything that I do, because you're never at your pinnacle. You can always progress. You can always get better. So I like doing that. I know I like to talk, but I'm not the best on the camera. I don't know why that is. Maybe stage fright or whatever you want to call it. But I know I'm getting better with time. If you go watch my first video I put out reading off a slideshow, now I don't, I'm not doing that, but I'm also pivoting and going a different way by having military guests come on and share their stories, or people like you that are in the military community that devote your life and your time and your efforts to helping veterans. So I feel like is one of my true callings and my passions, is connecting with people, talking, sharing the benefits, sharing stories, sharing someone else's story, helping, listening, whatever, because we live in such a world that's so connected, but at the same time, we're so disconnected, and that's something that I've struggled with, because we have great camaraderie in the military, but damn, no one even barely talks anymore. It's like, well, maybe it's me. Maybe I'm the conduit that has to bring people together, and sort of, I've just been going all in on myself, and, I'm not going to look back. I mean, a lot of people say they believe in me, and that makes me not want to stop. And I think it's something I can continue to do. All I got to do is sit here and stare at the computer, talk, and connect with people. And yeah, I think it's been very meaningful. So.
Do you think starting your podcast was a way for you to also stay connected to your tribe from the military, or maybe even to expand your tribe?
Oh yeah, I mean, absolutely. I feel like I haven't really interviewed a lot of people I served with, and that's fine. Maybe they'll come around to it, maybe they won't, but I have interviewed a few. I interviewed my buddy Manny Nunez today, and he was one of the first people I reached out to get help when I was like, damn, man, I don't know what to do. I remember I told him today, I called him crying in front of my girlfriend's house, Margarita's mom's house at the time, and I just broke down. I didn't know what to do. I mean, I was getting paid garbage. Had no money. I had a Cadillac car. I was paying like $400 for it. Thought I was cool when I was in the Army, you know, with a big car note, and then the insurance. I had speeding tickets and an accident. I mean, my life was crumbling, right? When it rains, it pours, they say. But you know, I was paying $700 before I even put gas in my car, and that just didn't make sense. So I ended up getting rid of that, and just I started trying to reach out. You know, we can't do this alone, and I wasn't afraid to ask for help. You know, when I needed to, it did it. You know, what's the worst you can do? It's okay to cry. It's okay to reach out and ask for help. So, yeah, I think this is a way to stay connected with people, and it's definitely a way to meet new people. Like I met you. I met great people. I know I've done at least over like 60 or 70 episodes by now. So everyone I meet is great. Everyone says kind words and everyone has a good story to tell. And I feel like the best is yet to come. So, yeah, I mean, I wish more people that I did serve with would come on here and talk and share stories, you know, because it's not only like helping other people, it's like leaving a legacy for our kids or your wife. It doesn't matter, whoever, your significant other, or our families. They can look back and say, look at our mom or our dad, or, you know, whatever the case may be. You know, for me, for my son, he can go back and look at all these interviews and say, you know, that was my dad who's telling these stories. And, you know, it's just something good. You know, we have all the capabilities to record and make what we can. And yeah, I mean, I think it's great, to be honest with you.
So based on your journey from when you were playing all these different sports, going into the Army, and your experience there, and then your experience on the other side working in food service, and then going to Dubai, and then everything thereafter, the culmination of all of that, what have you distilled from it that you're now teaching your son?
Well, definitely mindset at first. I mean, I think that's one thing that a lot of people probably don't even talk about. I don't know for other parents, but I know it's sometimes you want to pour everything into your kid, right? I would hope that's everyone's goal. So for Gianni, I know, just, you know, talk to him. You know, do you believe you're great? Do you believe you could do anything that you put your mind to? You know, and obviously he plays soccer and I'm coaching his team. That's great. The kids love it. I feel like I'm a kid out there doing it. I love that. I would love coaching more and doing more stuff like that, even if it's not for him, just for other kids that need the leadership. Just leadership. You know, you can't win every time, but try to win. You know, do your best. You know, just all that stuff like that. You know, be great at everything you do. Teaching him about business. He knows what I do on eBay. He helps me sometimes. I mean, it may sound funny, sound close, but like the world we live in, you wouldn't believe what you can do with used clothing. There's people that make millions of dollars doing it. They have it all typed out like a business, and it's not a joke. So, and something you can do. It's mundane, sure. It's easy. It's nothing. I don't care what anyone says. Nothing's harder than working at a car wash in Florida, like vacuuming out cars in the middle of the summer, sweating like none other, and washing dishes at Carrabba's. That was probably the worst job I've ever had in my life. So even before I joined the Army, I feel like I was set up for success. The Army is easy. You show the military, show up in the right place, the right time, the right uniform, do your best, beat people, you know, beat whoever you can. It's like a sport. It wasn't hard. So, you know, just trying to be here and be president for my son and teach him the right way to go, and, you know, show him that I'm always going to be here for him is what I'm trying to do every day.
So moving into everything that you're doing, you know, a big piece of a successful transition in life thereafter is finding your purpose. What would you say that yours is? What is Mike's why?
Well, I still read that book you gave me, so I don't know if I have it all figured out, but I think I'm definitely on the right track of doing what I'm doing, is being a true leader, a servant leader, and helping others. I mean, like I said, I got my 100%. It's no secret. I don't think people should hide that. All the information's out there. I'm not telling anyone to lie. I didn't lie. I didn't cheat. I didn't steal. You get what you deserve, and I feel like my calling is to give back to the military community, to give back to the kids with coaching, to give back. I want to make it big on the reselling so I can give back to the reselling community, because there's a lot of people, there's groups out there, and I'm a part of a group. And, there's people that want to do the work, and I know I'm capable of doing it. So a little bit of all that, and just realistically, I got a bigger dream than all that. Is really to make like a foundation. We all know, if you've been deployed to Iraq, Afghanistan, you know how much money, how much equipment, how much housing, how much everything was left over in these countries, okay? And it's sickening, because we have our own people.
That.
Everything
that we learned.
Yeah, it's sickening, because I've seen it with my own eyes, and you got people inside of our own country that are U.S. citizens or illegal. It doesn't even matter if they're here trying to do better and do right. Why are we not taking care of them? It's no secret if people follow the news and all this other stuff. When Afghanistan was happening, that shutdown or whatever that was, they did that Black Swan event or whatever you want to call it. They were building camps and out in the West. I know the people were doing it. Okay, they had the contract. They were building camps for refugees to come over. We all see what happens at the border. All these people are just coming in and infiltrating this country. And I'm all for people having a better life, but that's not what people are coming here for. So for the U.S. to give all this stuff away and not take care of their own, we got 22 suicides a day, or maybe more for veterans itself. I mean, you live in San Francisco, you know how bad it is. I'm pretty sure you told me you want to get out. You know about Skid Row. You know about all these people that are on drugs and homeless, and there's nothing really here to help them. It's just a disaster. So what I really want to do one day is find people, because I know I'm not going to be able to do it myself, and create some type of foundation or like a retreat, because all you need is a couple of those containers. I mean, we left thousands of them behind. You just had a few of those, a little bit of land. We could make a retreat in Florida or anywhere you want. You could come down here. We could talk about entrepreneurship. We could talk about leadership. We could talk about what's your why. What do you really want to do? Because I was sick of going to places I didn't want to be in anymore. And thankfully, the military helped me get to a point in my life. I don't have to work a job I hate like 80% of the Americans do. They say most people die on Monday morning and have a heart attack because they hate going to work. Is that true? I don't know, but it makes a lot of sense. So, I got big dreams, and I feel like everyone should have big dreams. And if you don't write them down, then it's just like a thought. We should dream big, because anything's possible. You're capable of making anything happen with the right people and, the right timing and the right attitude and mindset. So, yeah, I feel like it's all coming together step by step, and I know it's not going to happen overnight, but definitely on the right track. So, yeah, I'm good.
What are your dreams? What does the future hold for you?
Be financially free, build an empire for my son, for whoever, for my family. Help my mom the best I can, help my brother, help even my son's mom's family. It doesn't matter. I want to see everyone succeed. There's enough money, and there's more money in the world today than there ever has been. There's more opportunity, but no one's ready to seize it. No, I want to go in business with people that I trust, but everyone's scared. People are scared, or they don't have money. I'm trying to find people that are in the same mindset as me to make something happen, and like to build the foundation and get some more real estate. Make eBay profitable and roll that money into real estate, build a real estate portfolio. That way I could, maybe show my son how to be a landlord. I'm not going to just give him something on a golden spoon, because you're never going to learn like that. But I can have the stuff set in place and show him what could happen, so he doesn't have to go through the same stuff I had to. If he wants to join the military, great. If that's what he wanted to do, I'm not going to hold him back from his dreams. But build a foundation, grow this podcast, reach as many people as I can, help as many people as I can, meet as many people as I can, continue to maybe interview high profile veterans that are now, whatever, there's a lot of people. Patrick Bet David, he was a veteran from Iran, came through the slums, and he's a multimillionaire, owns part of the Yankees, never mind everything else he's got. Jocko, David Goggins, all these people that are high celebrity. We could all talk and have a discussion. I don't feel like any of those people are off the table for me. I mean, I was in the military too, and we can all relate, because we all have that brotherhood or sisterhood that we all once, raised our right hand and took that oath and put our life on the line for this country. So, but I feel like just giving back as much as I can, and seeing my son grow and, you know, being happy and doing the best I can is what I'm after.
Awesome. I see all of the potential for everything that you want to do. And again, you know, through our conversations, whether we're on the phone or we're texting, you've got everything laid out. So I'm invested already. So I'm excited to see what the next steps are for you.
Well, I appreciate that.
I thoroughly enjoyed our conversation tonight. And I appreciate that you let me turn the tables. And I am so glad that everybody has a chance to get to know you, because I think that you're really special and you have so much to offer. So I'm really glad that we've had this opportunity. So thank you.
Well, I appreciate you. Thank you as well, Braze. And I'm glad I met you and glad you answered the call to action on LinkedIn. You know, I don't mind cold calling people on there. I did it for jobs. So, you know, even if you're looking for a job, the worst thing a recruiter could do is tell you no, but usually they try to help you and point you in the right direction. And, you know, if you're looking to connect with people in the military community or even in life, all you got to do is reach out. And the worst thing they can do is say no or not answer. So I really appreciate you. And thanks for the books. I'm finishing up my last book right now. It's called Crucial Conversations. That was a pretty good one. And now I'm going to be on to your 2 books that you got me. And I look forward to, you know, what our relationship's going to bring in the future. And whoever else you send my way, you've been great. You sent some awesome guests my way. So keep them coming and let's get after it. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
And everyone, thanks for listening in. You know, if you guys have girls have a story, want to share, you know, or you're a caregiver, or it doesn't matter. If you got anything to do with the military and you want to come on here and share your story, I'd be more than happy to have you on. Your voice matters, your story matters. Don't let anyone else take that from you or make you think otherwise. So appreciate you guys listening in. I hope you guys learned something. Don't be like me when I got out the Army. Be proactive rather than reactive, and reach out if you have any questions. So until next time, you guys have a blessed night.